Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Beardworks podcast. Got another mixed bag for you today. Got a TV show, comics, and then just a bit of freestyle for you. Starting off, I watched the first episode of the new Snowpiercer show. I know you did as well.
Yeah. I think compared to the movie, it's a little bit different, but I guess it has to grow into it, the show. Starting off the first episode was interesting. Obviously, it has a very, very similar beginning from the movie that released in 2013, I believe it was. Knowing that, I know that the producer from the movie, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, but Bong Joon-ho, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was the director of the movie, and he also came across and helped produce a few of the episodes as well. So obviously, building the world of Snowpiercer between the movie and the TV show, it was a pretty similar beginning. But yeah, the similarities are there, but I feel that the movie started off obviously a lot like grittier, you could say.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and then immediately afterwards I watched the movie just as a refresher because I hadn't watched it in years. The movie has such a more brutal, I don't know, almost it's a bit more grounded in reality, I feel. The show seems a little bit bullshit. I don't know. It's just not as real. The train's a lot more futuristic, and yeah, I know. The movie, in my opinion, is a lot better so far.
Yeah, with the characters that they introduce you to in the movie. Obviously the main character being played by Chris Evans, we all know who's the perfect Avenger, as in Captain America. I thought he brought his character a really good storytelling. I guess the way you could say to the build up to where his character had began was with I think his mentor or his father figure, sacrificed his arm so he could live because he was about to eat a child or something like that. And to see that, the revolution was beginning and he was the driving force for that is really interesting take compared to the Netflix TV show where it's more they seem like they're about to start a revolution, and we know how that went in the movie. So we're like, okay, this is going to be a really good throwdown against the guards. But in the movie, they sort of show that the guards have run out of ammo a long time ago. They're very low on ammunition, so they don't have bullets loading in any of their weapons. So they take it upon themselves to attack when their guards or the security are at their weakest. Whereas in the TV show, it's just they just jump them with when one of the characters eventually hangs himself, unfortunately. And so, yeah, that's sort of how they start the revolution then, but it doesn't go very far compared to what the movie does.
Yeah, I like all the fight from the back to the front in the movie. Like it seems like an actual constant like momentum, a constant push. They're always like getting to the next car, the next car. In the show, they get like 2 cars in, and then he's like, "Oh, we need you to solve a murder. Here, you should leave all your mates behind. Come with us." I don't know. It's very weird how they're structuring
Well,
it. But
I believe that there will be a revolution in the end. Obviously, we've only seen the first episode, so we have to wait for the entire season to be released to do a full comparison between the movie and the show.
yep.
But I do find that the character in the movie, the main character, is a lot more compelling compared to the character that they've brought forward in the TV show. Whether he's just a detective, they were saying in his part before the winter apocalypse. I feel that his character's just not as interesting. He's a bit bland. The other characters are a bit more interesting, like Melanie, who's apparently the new Wilfred, which is obviously, if no one's seen the Snowpiercer movie, we've already said a fair bit already, but go back and watch it and then start watching the TV show. We will obviously do another chat about this another time, but the whole idea is that the world has gone to an like a apocalyptic winter where you cannot survive outside at the moment. And so scientists have created a train named Mr. Wilfred, and he, allowed the rich to get on board, the ones that backed his idea, and then the people that jumped on the train as freeloaders were pushed to the back of the train to become the bottom feeders. And so it's all based about, society really as a tower. Starting at the top, you've got the people that are wealthy that don't want to give anything away to the guys at the bottom feeders, where they just get left with the scraps. So yeah, back to what I was talking about Wilfred is that in the show it seems like he's not alive, whereas in the movie he was still alive at the end, as like the final bad guy, I guess. And in the TV show, it seems like he's disappeared. But I do know that Sean Bean has apparently been cast as Wilfred in 11 episodes. So whether he was alive and then has been killed off by this Melanie character who has now taken on that name and taken over the voice on the radio, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't know about the Sean Bean thing. They must do flashbacks or something. There must have been like a like behind closed doors, like kind of coup or mutiny where this lady's taken over. But that seems more interesting than what we've already got. Like, I'm just not into this whole solving a murder on the train. I don't know. It's just
It
not
is
as
hard. It is hard to question the first episode. The pilot episode is normally what grabs your attention. So if it doesn't grab you straight away, you're not going to be keen to watch the next episode. And obviously, Netflix is releasing it week by week, not as a full series all at once. So you can't really push through the first episode and get onto the second one instantly to see what happens, and the third and the fourth. You have to sort of wait week by week, and sometimes that's just not enough. If that first episode isn't compelling enough to watch the next one, you have to wait. In saying that, there are a few more episodes out now at the time of this recording, so we could possibly, go smash out these episodes and have a different perspective. But I honestly think watching the whole series and then comparing the movie would be the best comparison between the two. In saying that, the movie was a fantastic film, and I don't think I can see past that at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to wait and just do a binge when it's all out. Even though I wasn't that impressed with the first episode, I'll probably still binge it just because there's not much else to watch at the moment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it definitely it has the Snowpiercer movie. Like, has great action, gory, kind of gruesome fights, and it shows you like carriage to carriage, like you're talking about. You find out different parts, and as they go closer and closer to the head of the train, there's different aspects. There's like a garden, an aquarium, a school, a little classroom. Well, there's plenty of things throughout these carts. It does show that apparently it's a 1001 like cart train. So when I think back to the movie, I'm like, geez, they've moved a fair way to get to the front in such a short amount of time. In saying that, like the TV show, I think is going to explore more individual train carts and show that the different worlds that exist in each one of those carts, not compared to like the movie where you just sort of like push through them and they're just trying to get to the very end. I think each one of those carts, well, whether it be an episode on a cart or an episode over a few different carts overall, it might show a different world that's being lived in each side of this 1,000 cart train.
the train seems so much more huge in the TV show. Like, there's two-story carts. There's like heaps wider. Like in the movie, it seems more like a standard kind of train. Obviously, they've got like the fancy aquariums and sushi bars and stuff. But yeah, the train carts in the show are heaps more advanced.
Yeah, I know that I saw somebody commenting on. I watched, like, after watching the episode, I went and watched a few videos on YouTube from content creators that had been watching the first episode, comparing it to the movie, and a lot of people were saying that from obviously there's the visual novel. I think I can't believe I. Well, I'm sorry, I don't exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what the comics and stuff like that, or the book it came from. I just like the world as it is in the movies and the TV show. But they were saying there's actually meant to be a second train called like the Icebreaker.
Oh,
So,
dope.
so obviously the name Icebreaker, you think that it's probably like the train ahead of that train that plows through ice that may have grown out, sorry, come over the tracks or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure. Because don't they say in the movie that the train breaks the ice at the front and that's what is the water for the rest of the
Yeah,
train? They heat it from the engine as they smash it.
yeah. I mean, overall, it's a very cool concept, and to see the movie where it was and how great it was is I really enjoyed it. I would have been happy just for it to stop at the movie, but then again, we wouldn't be talking about this this Netflix show if they decided not to create it. So it'd be really cool. I am interested to see where it ends up, and I do believe there'll be a revolution at the very end of it. So
Yeah, that's what it needs. And you touched on the Snowpiercer comics and graphics novels, and that's a good segue into our next discussion point. We both read another series, continuing on from our Cosmic Ghost Rider chat last week. We read the first volume of not of Cosmic Ghost Rider. We read the first volume of Guardians of the Galaxy, the continuation of Cosmic Ghost Rider, and I thought it was wild. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. With the Cosmic Ghost Rider like little series that we read, or issues and volumes, sorry, that was really interesting. Like we spoke about how we enjoyed Frank. I was about to say Frank West again. um, but yeah, Frank Castle's descent into madness, being the Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then having that little backstory of how everything played out prior to that, to see where he ends up next. Obviously, we spoke about this off air, but we spoke about how he wasn't as influential and as strong, it seemed, in this little volume. Um, but nonetheless, I was quite compelled and interested in the story of Peter Quill's character, where he was at, and where the Guardians of the Galaxy were at this time in this volume.
Yeah, definitely Peter Quill was probably the standout for me in this comic. He's obviously there's like these crazy heroes like Beta Ray Bill's even there with the original Stormbreaker, Silver Surfer, like some powerhouses. But my favorite character is just a human, Peter Quill. He's just I don't know. Seems like he's gone through a lot. I think we have missed a couple comics or a different side story when they're talking about all the Gamora stuff, which I
Yeah.
definitely want to go back and read. But yeah, Peter Quill I thought was unreal in this.
In saying that, we've only read the first 6 issues, which covers, like, realistically, how many issues are in this volume?
It's 12 all up. It's only a short, like, Guardians story, but yeah.
Yeah. So we've only read this first 6 issues, which covers an actual mini story in itself, harping back to Thanos and his demise and him being reincarnated. We'll touch on that soon. But I do realize that they bring up Rocket Raccoon a fair bit, saying that that something's gone wrong there, and he's on his homeworld, and Gamora's trying to hunt him down. So obviously, I think that in the remaining issues, obviously they'll probably explore that kind of that storyline next. But from this isolated story that we're about to talk about, it's based around so Thanos is obviously dead, and we learned that from the Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then obviously his little story about finding baby Thanos, and then him growing up to become a Punisher version of Thanos, and yeah, it's just big kerfuffle, and you guys know that from the last episode that we spoke about it. But this one is more about them trying to bring Thanos back, and Thanos' brother trying to stop. Is it the Black Order?
Yeah,
Thanos' name.
Thanos is set up after he died for his consciousness to be uploaded into someone, and everyone is freaking out. So Eros, Thanos' brother, another Titan, just like a normal Titan, not a big giant purple one, he thinks it's going to be Gamora. But as the story plays out, you kind of find out that Gamora is probably not going to be it, and then boom, you get the revelation that it's actually Eros is going to become Thanos, which he's not happy about either.
Well, no, there's a bit of a revelation towards the in the last issue where he finds out that he's the one that's going to be harboring Thanos's consciousness, and obviously he's the time. It's too late for it. By the time everyone like picks it up and the pieces are all together, you find that Hela, so Odin's first born, so it'd be obviously first daughter. She had obviously been with Thanos prior to his demise, romantically, I believe, the way they've portrayed it. So she had gathered his troops and his army back together slowly while the heroes of this story were bickering and arguing between each other. And so obviously we have the one side of the story where they want to kill Gamora, which is one select group of characters, pitted against the Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously with Peter Quill wanting to save Gamora first, and because he obviously feels that she is not the one who's going to become Thanos, because the overarching story is that she had already had the opportunity to become Thanos, and she moved past that. So has these two big groups of heroes going at each other, Guardians of the Galaxy versus this other small group with the Cosmic Ghost Rider, which obviously is our fan favorite. But yeah, so the collision course that shows that this has been building up to over these 6 issues happens, and then you find out that they've been played all along, and they've been freaking out for no reason, because there's the person that was going to become the new Thanos or have the consciousness at the time was the leader of this team that was trying to stop it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool how they're all talking in that situation. Then they like the I don't know, the screws connect or the cogs start kicking, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's going to be Eros." And then he's really upset and freaking out. I don't want to be Thanos. It was I had a giggle at that. And another thing, like a random side note, Groot talks now.
Yeah, properly. Yeah,
Yeah,
properly
Groot
talk.
actually can articulate sentences and stuff. It's not just "I am Groot," but that was another thing I thought was
But
pretty
he's
interesting.
sort of going through like a. If you guys have watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, you know when spoiler Groot sort of dies at the very end, and then obviously he has a tree root that's left that they plant, and he grows into in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He's a teenager, and so he's going through those teenage years where he's like rebellious and that kind of stuff. This Groot is like a punk, you know. He's got like a mohawk. He's always carving away at his body and he like creating spiked shoulders and stuff. And so he's got like bark chips flying everywhere. And that's one thing that Peter Quill's like, can you stop doing that? Like it's really annoying. And he has these like mini Groots going around. They're called I Am Stab or something like that, and like the mini versions. But yeah, so it was cool to see Groot. But the thing is, it showed that when Peter Quill was at his weakest and he didn't really want to take on the role of the leader at that time with this situation going on. Groot sort of said, "All right, I'm going to take control." And it's quite funny because he goes, "Oh, you know, we've had a mutiny, and I'm now the captain. This is Captain Groot speaking." And they go to save Gamora, and yeah, pretty much it's just a big throwdown at the end, trying to stop, um, you know, Hela and her crew with Thanos' consciousness in is Essos was his name?
Yep,
Yeah,
Eros.
Eros, sorry. Even though I just read it literally like 2 hours ago. Eros was conscious, has Thanos' consciousness in him. And so they're making their way back to their lair and obviously trying to transfer his consciousness, well, Thanos' consciousness from his brother's body into Thanos' reincarnated body, I guess. That's why did this little segment where they went to fetch his head to attach back to the body. It was quite a cool little thing.
Yeah, I think we missed maybe there was a little Infinity something with Gamora had the gauntlet or something because they talk about Gamora killing Peter Quill, but he's alive in this. So I don't know if I don't know if that was like a metaphorical death, like a heartbreak, or I don't know, but it
Yeah.
looks pretty legit
It
when I
did show
see him getting stabbed. Yeah,
Yeah, it showed like a little panel of him getting stabbed in the back by Gamora, or a silhouette, assuming that it was Gamora. But yeah, it was actually really cool. Yeah, little story. And at the very end there, it's just a massive throwdown. And it's quite interesting because when Hela first arrives to take Eros and obviously transfer Thanos' consciousness into to activate it and then transfer it later, there's a bit of a throwdown, and pretty much the heroes get whacked real quickly. And I know it's quite funny. You see the Cosmic Ghost Rider Frank Castle's like, you know, I'm pretty powerful, and then all of a sudden Hela just puts on the boots and says, "I'm your queen." And he goes, "Yes." And all of a sudden, his body just turns into a flaming skeleton. Like obviously, we know that his body is a skeleton, but he loses like his outer layer, and he's just sitting there on fire. And you're like, "Oh, so he's he just like on his knees now, kneeling to this?"
because
You know,
Hela is the goddess of death, like goddess of the underworld. So she kind of has dominion over Ghost Rider because he's obviously like an entity or a power from hell. Um, so yeah, she kicks off, disintegrates Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's just a skeleton burning, crying on the ground, and then he crumbles to dust. Then the comic has like one page dedicated to this. It shows hell as Cosmic Ghost Rider is falling back into hell, and who's waiting for him? Johnny Blaze, the original Ghost Rider.
yeah, that was so cool. Like how it had Frank Castle, like so he's just in his normal human form in hell, and he's like looking up, and you just see and he goes, "I'm the king of this place," and it's Johnny Blaze in the original, like you know, Ghost Rider outfit, you know, the leather suit and stuff, biker jacket, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. This is now I'm interested to find out where this story goes."
Yeah, I did some research after that because I was reading on the Marvel app. Showed me the issue that it's from, and I opened it up, and yeah, there's I think it's a 2 or 3 part mini series in Hell where it's all the Ghost Riders having a race. So it's Johnny Blaze, Frank Castle, and what's the one in the car? He's in the
He's
TV shows.
the
He's the
Netflix.
Mexican one.
Oh yeah, the Agents of Shield show.
Yeah,
I
he's the
forget who
Ghost Rider in that.
he's pretty cool. All the Ghost Riders are pretty cool. So
Yeah, the front cover was awesome. It's Johnny Blaze on his bike, like classic Ghost Rider. The Mexican one in his car, which is like a Charger or something, which is sick. And then Cosmic Ghost Rider on his space motorbike. Like it would be the best race. I'm definitely gonna have a read of that.
yeah, for sure, definitely. overall, the story was really cool. And at the very end, they're throwing down. They eventually, when they first arrive to take out what's the transition that's happening between Eros and into the dead body at this time of Thanos, the consciousness obviously is going across slowly. Hela gets taken out straight away because obviously she's extremely powerful, so they want to get her out of the way just quickly. Obviously, she'll be back, like they said, like they do say she'll be back. So let's do this quickly. And they eventually just like wipe the floor with most of the enemies, and it shows like Peter Quill and Gamora going towards the transition between Eros and Thanos with the consciousness, and like it shows that Gamora is going to take it upon herself to kill her uncle. So then the process can be stopped. Peter's trying to explain this is not the way to do it. You're going to become just like him. And she goes, if I had the opportunity to kill, if I was in your position and I had the choice of killing me, I would have done it straight away without thinking. So then she just stabs her uncle in the back. Transition stops between the consciousness, so it cuts it off halfway. And it just shows, Thanos half there. He's like I don't know, he's not all there,
Yeah, he comes back. His eyes are glowing. He's like, obviously he's strong, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like half created. He's like doesn't have a mind. He's just like mindless beast kind of. But then don't they grab Proxima Midnight's black hole gun, and that's what ends up capping him at the end.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Hela appears back with the gun and shoots it, and I think Beta Ray Bills uses his hammer. The Stormbreaker hits and the bullet or the shot
right.
deflects off and hits Thanos in the chest, and they're like, "Oh crap, we all need to get out of here because the black hole's about to rip open this place." And you just see like they escape quickly, and obviously it explodes. Hela gets sucked into the black hole as well, and then all the enemies, all the bad guys get sucked away, and all the good guys survive, as which normally happens.
Yeah, even in the comics, how strong is Stormbreaker? A gun that can literally shoot black holes. Beta Ray Bill just taps it with his Stormbreaker and deflects it into Thanos.
Yeah, that gun was crazy. That early on in that volume of this around the first issue, the good guys get hit by this, and most of them get wiped out. It kills off a bunch of characters at the start. So overall, really interesting story, and actually really cool. I don't know, guess like just carry on from what we've sort of watching, sort of reading the Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Sorry, obviously he wasn't the star of the show, which I was a bit disappointed. But after seeing what he could do in the last his little one shot, to see him sort of get bullied around now. But I am gratefully, happy that watching Peter Quill have a really good story arc, considering that what the kind of place he is in at the start compared to where he is at the end of the story. So, what was your final thoughts on that comic?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like a Guardian series. It definitely feels like a Peter Quill one shot, which I'm perfectly happy with. I think it's awesome. I'm definitely going to continue and read the last 6, but the Johnny Blaze, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Showdown in Hell, that's what I'm actually hyped for.
Yeah, definitely have to give that a read. That will be in another episode, of course. Really loving this comic segments. There's so much fun. There's so much rich lore throughout the Marvel series, and obviously eventually we can read some DC as well and some other comics we've also had a look at. So, but we're all doing different things, and we're just always putting ideas up to talk about. And yeah, so overall, pretty happy with that experience. And in saying that, how are you experiencing The Last of Us 2? Without any spoilers, of course. You started the game already. I'm a little bit far behind. I'm not starting it yet, but first thoughts?
Yeah, it's very good. I can't really talk too much without spoiling, but like for people that have played the first one, it takes every idea and concept from the first one and just cranks the violence, the momentum, the speed up a million. It's wild.
And so how can I explain this? So at the moment I am playing through The Last of Us, Last of Us 1 remastered on the PlayStation 4. So I purchased it I think a week ago, and I've been just playing it day by day, like an hour or two here and there, just really enjoying it. And I'm only playing on easy, so I can just enjoy the story. I've already played through it once before when it first came out on the PlayStation 3, but I want to go through it again, refresh my mind, and sort of play this going into The Last of Us Part 2 to have like one overarching story. And so far, like obviously I'm really enjoying it but I do find the mechanics a little bit outdated now. I think to playing games these days, they sort of mix it up a bit. This is sort of like sneak through each area. But I'm sort of guessing that in The Last of Us Part 2, it's a similar kind of build where you're exploring the world by going through sections of areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely similar to the first one in many, many, many ways, but I feel like it's more refined. It's more finely tuned. It's more detailed. Like it's still that like apocalyptic buildings are crumbling. There's clickers and zombies everywhere. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's definitely a 2020 game. Like I played The Last of Us number one a bit late to the game because I got a PS4 late, but I played it a couple years ago and it definitely did feel outdated. You can tell it's a PS3 game. But yeah, number two, definitely a 2020 modern era next gen game.
Yeah, and I think that the obviously the play we spoke about this already before in a previous episode, how PlayStation has done a really good job of making really good exclusive and story driven ones, not so much multiplayer based ones. And so The Last of Us, the very first one, obviously came out the end of life of the PlayStation 3. So that was sort of the same question, is that they're releasing like Ghosts of Tsushima and also The Last of Us in the last few months before the PlayStation 5 is released. Obviously, they will be ported across, whether it be backwards compatibility or like a remastered version with updated graphics. Because that's what I noticed. I played the original The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. You know, the graphics were good back then because that's what the technology was at its highest. Now playing the remastered, the graphics are a bit more fine tuned. Some areas are beautiful, some areas are a bit more bland. Obviously, when you go into the nature kind of side of things, it's really nice and very flourish and all that kind of stuff. That's the right word for it. Um, but yeah, obviously the city landscape is a bit bland, but that's to be expected. But overall, I think you play The Last of Us for the story, not so much for. It does look like a beautiful game playing the remaster, and I've seen bits and pieces of The Last of Us Part Two, but we're here for the characters, not so much for the environment, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I have my PlayStation purely for exclusives because I'm pretty well Xbox 100% of the time. But the exclusives I just can't get past on PS4 and Sony. They're just unreal, and definitely Last of Us continues that. Like Last of Us 1 and 2. Like
So
every bit of character development and storytelling in the first one is just ramped up in the second. And it's
yeah,
just it's ripping my heart out, dude, playing it. It's so emotional.
so far I mean, how many hours are you into the game?
8.5.
And so far you're loving it. You're playing it every day, aren't you, at the moment?
Well, yeah, I've just been hammering it. Like I've had it for a couple of days now. I'm already 8.5 in, and I'm taking my time. Like I'm exploring everything, collecting all the little trinkets, everything, just
So
savoring it.
just a quick brief overview, like how has Ellie evolved from that first game to the second game without spoiling too much?
Well, from what you've seen in the trailers, obviously she's the main focus of the game. In the first one, you play as Joel and Ellie. In this one, it's mainly just Ellie. She's a lesbian. They kind of hinted that in the DLC from the first one, but this one, it's concrete. She's a lesbian. You see her kiss Dina in the trailer, and that those ideas are just more established in the full game. But yeah, she's definitely battle hardened or like a veteran. It seems like she's seen some shit, and you can tell.
Well, yeah, I know in the first game it is hinted that obviously her sexuality, which I mean means nothing in video games. It's just about the story, and obviously, but it fleshes out her character obviously in this second game, um, and it shows obviously. I think how can I say why she's driven to do certain things. Obviously, in the trailers I've seen, I haven't played any of the game yet, like I said, so I'm saving my full review to when I play it, and then I can talk about between the first and the second game being fresh in the mind. I can talk about the overarching game, but for first impressions, you think's top tier game, probably a good way to finish off the PlayStation 4.
Oh, definitely. This and Ghost of Tsushima is, I reckon, going to be a very nice cherry on top that was this current gen. Xbox is just a throwaway. I love my Xbox. I hammer it, play it so much, but this gen was PS4 for me.
Well, yeah, if you look at, we spoke about the exclusives not long ago, and obviously PlayStation blew it out of the water. Just even like these latest games, we haven't even played Ghost yet, and we did speak about how the first impressions of Ghost, like from the trailer and the gameplay reveal, we're not super impressed. But I have seen a little bit more since then, and it is looking a bit more promising. And obviously, the game has gone gold officially now. They've announced, so it being less than a month away now, I have to say that PlayStation have done extremely well this with the PlayStation 4's lifespan to show that I still sometimes question why these games are releasing at the very end of its life cycle. Not saying that there won't be games for PlayStation 4 in the coming years, but with the PS5 just around the corner, you think they would have just developed these games for the next gen. But I can understand that they want to keep people playing PlayStation 4, and they can still sell consoles with those two games. Like those two games and the remaster, they could do a bundle and they can make lots of money off it still.
Well, yeah, when I went and picked up my copy of Last of Us 2, there was a guy next to me. He was buying a PS4 for Last of Us 2. So obviously, the marketing or whatever they're doing is working because people are still committing to the console, even though the next one's just around the corner.
Yeah, so really cool. Can't wait to play it. Like I said, just playing Last of Us Part 1 at the moment. Another game that have you been playing? I'm guessing, obviously with Warzone, it's chopping and changing so much. We're just not enjoying it as much as we used to. But Destiny, how have you felt about this new season that they've released? The season of Arrivals. What do you think?
Well, for people that don't know, me and Scads have our best friend. He lives, breathes, eats, shits Destiny. He hyped me up for this season, and it's good. The couple of the new weapons I'm really liking, like the Wither Horde, that grenade launcher. That's really really fun. But I don't know. I reckon we should have waited to the next DLC.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's just a grind fest, which is these seasons have been a bit of a grind fest. I saw this guy today on a Destiny 2 page that I follow on Facebook, and it's a group, sorry. And he was like level 100, and so it takes a long time to get there. Not so much a long time, but a lot of hours. And he goes, finally grinded it out, made it to level 100.
Level
He
100
goes,
or level 1000?
no, as in level 100 for the season.
Oh shit! Yeah, that dude does grind. Whoa.
Yeah, and so he said, finally made it. Goes, grind's over now. I can put it down for a bit. And then people were questioning, why would you grind it out like crazy for a few weeks to get to where you are now, where you could just slowly play it over the season and get it done? He had like his excuse was that he has other games to play, so like he's moving across to the PlayStation for a little while to play those exclusives, be it The Last of Us 2 and the Ghost game. But I couldn't believe it. Like I don't play every single day on Destiny because with working two jobs and some sport, and obviously wanting to do the podcast more often, I can't. I can play like Destiny maybe for like an hour or two every second day, and I get a few things done here and there, but I sort of do get bored of it. If you're playing it only for an hour, you can sort of get away with it, but anything more than 2 or 3 hours over a couple of days, I find is very repetitive. And to see that he's made it to a level 100 already, which is it's crazy in my eyes. I mean, there are plenty of other good games at the moment to be playing other than Destiny. Not saying Destiny's bad, but it's definitely a grind fest at the moment, which I can understand people want to do, but just not me, I guess. I just not there.
Yeah, we've definitely had our disgusting weeks where we've played Destiny, probably more than we've slept. But yeah, I don't know. This season's definitely not a grind time for me. Definitely not.
And unfortunately, a lot of weapons are being vaulted at the end of this season, which if people don't understand what that means is that guns are being put away. Sort of like they used to do in Fortnite, where they'd have a gun be used, like say the pump shotgun for a while was like an OP weapon. They vaulted it for a while and had the tactical shotgun become the new meta for a while. And then they bring it back on as well. It's just in and out, keeps the game fresh. People have to change up their play styles and stuff. And so there's some guns that with this new DLC that's coming out in September, which is the big one called Beyond. Um, they're vaulting a lot of weapons, and there's a lot of weapons, so much so where say there are weapons that we've taken out of the game that you can't get them anymore, and then there'll be guns that cannot be leveled up any higher. For people that don't play Destiny, guns you can rank them up higher by infusing other stronger weapons into them, so then you can get your overall light level or power level higher. And so some guns will be literally stopped at the end of this season. They cannot level up any higher. So your overall rank or your overall level cannot get any higher. So when you go to do these challenging things where you have to be a certain level, you can't do them because you'll be using weapons that are capped at a certain level. And I think, do you know what weapons are being
No, I was
capped?
just about to ask you what's getting shelved.
So the Recluse.
What? The only gun in the game worth using.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure. Like I haven't done extensive research, but I have watched a fair few videos now, and I think the Mountaintop and Recluse have both been vaulted or been capped, so you can still use them, but they won't be able to be used in like higher level of tier events.
Yeah, we'll have to get Pap on for a chat with you guys on the podcast one of these days. He'll bloody give everyone what they need to know about Destiny. But
Yeah,
yeah, I did not know that.
it's really unfortunate because these, just to give everyone a bit of a background knowledge, the Recluse and the Mountaintop are very challenging weapons to receive, especially before the patch. There was a patch where it made the guns a bit more accessible to achieve. Before that, they were extremely tough to get. Only the top tier players that played Crucible, which is Destiny's PvP, were able to achieve.
Like
Nick and
us,
I,
we grinded it for
well, that's the thing.
days.
We actually got it after the patch, so we weren't as new.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually a lot harder to get. So Nick and I grinded our asses off to get two weapons that were extremely good in the game, and I mean, I used it every time I play the game.
I
Be it
still
the
use it.
Recluse and the Mountaintop. And yeah, so it was a grind, it was a super hard grind, and it's all PvP. So it's a lot of hard work trying to, challenge people online. Be it
In ranked playlists, people bear mind in ranked.
yeah, and so it was a hard challenge, but we got it done, and damn, did it feel good to get that weapon.
I've used it every day since we got it.
But I think the whole idea is that obviously they want to move that gun on, so then there can be some new metas that come in. You can still be able to use those weapons in like Crucible because Crucible is not ranked, so the level of the weapon doesn't matter. Same as Trials of Osiris, I believe, which is
For people
another
that don't
weapon.
play Destiny, Crucible is just multiplayer, like team deathmatch, domination from COD, similar game modes.
Yeah. So overall, it is a bit of a shame we're losing those weapons, but then again, we won't be getting killed by them well, we still might get killed by them in the Crucible, but not so much in other game modes that require higher level weapons. So unfortunately, we're losing those weapons, but new weapons will come out. Like at the moment, swords are crazy strong, which is good. Swords are awesome weapons. So to have them back and being buffed is so cool. So
Yeah, I'm
overall,
happy to be using the whirlwind swords as well. Just those buffs you get from just continuous strikes. It's very, very fun.
yeah. So there's in speaking of like experience and fun and all that kind of stuff, I've actually played two new demos from I downloaded from Steam that they had like this developer thing not long ago where they had like live talks with the developers and sort of promoting independent like developer games. And so there's two games that I played which were really interesting. One was called Haven, new game that has like a really cool it's got I don't want to say like a color palette, but like the animation is very comic, like I don't actually know the word for it, but it's just a really good animated game. Very interesting. I'm not sure exactly the extent of how it will play, but it's pretty much like a game where you and your partner, which the characters that you play, a female and a male, that are together. You can switch between the two, and you can glide around, collect resources. It's a very simple game, straightforward, but I think it's going to be more in depth because you have to have these discussions with each other, and I think eventually it will move on to other things that will cause a relationship to stir or something like that.
Yeah, I just googled it because I haven't seen any of this either because I don't play PC games. But yeah, this definitely looks like an anime or like a graphic novel that you control. Looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it was a really cool, interesting game, and it's only like I think it's like a 10-minute demo. I'm not sure if there's a timer, but I just explored the world for a little bit, and eventually it said, "Thank you for playing our demo. Please come back and support us." I believe it is coming to Game Pass as well, so when it does have a full release, we'll be able to both have a game of it and see how it goes. It's a
Yeah,
very interesting game. I mean, like I said, visually it looks really nice, and the interactions between the two characters. The characters are both voiced, so you have the text pop up, and you can select. It's not like in-depth selection dialogue like a Bioware game, but it's just a straightforward two. At this stage, it's only two selections, between the two, and it sort of like creates a conversation between the couple. So that's interesting in on itself.
so are they actually a couple? Is
Well,
that what's
yeah,
happening here? Yeah.
it's in the first scene is very I want to say graphical because that's not the word for it, but
Sexually charged.
yeah, nothing happens, like it's PG, but it just shows they are intimate with each other. So that was a cool little story. And to see how it's like a survival game as well. So they crashed on this I'm not sure if it's a planet or some kind of place, but they have to try to survive, and they talk about like the food that they're eating. It's really cool. Like the interactions are, I think, are the main focus. The stuff on the outside of the ship is just very, straightforward stuff, collection based game, bring back the materials. And they're eating the same food over and over again. And so he's always like, oh, we're having roast apple claw, I think it is, or something like that. And then he goes, "Oh, we're having stewed, all this kind of stuff." And she goes, "Oh, let me guess, it's this material again." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't really do much about it." And yeah, so really cool, interesting little game so far. We're interesting to see where it comes out later on in, I think, 2021, I believe. So, but there was another game I played which was called Shadowrunner. Now, I'm not sure if you might have seen something like this. I think there was a little bit of a video on Facebook, like would pop up once in a while from one of a page that I used to follow. It was like a parkour first-person ninja game where you can literally slice limbs off of characters. Have you seen that before?
No. Sounds like super hot.
Yeah, it's very similar. Graphics are really good. It's really smooth. The key bindings were a bit tough because there's an actual cat. So you've got the slide feature, which like you pick up momentum and then you just jump on a surface and you can start doing wall running. But then you've got the slow down time motion. And so what you can do is when you're both feet are on the ground, you press the dodge. You like whichever way you're pointing your keys on the keyboard. You'll like dash either way. But if you're in midair, you can actually slow down time and you can actually move midair and you got like a little time of like how much time you got left to until you come back into full motion. But it's one shot kills. So it
Is it Shadow Runner or Shadow Run?
might be Shadow Runner or Shadow Run. I don't know. It's one of the two.
Because Shadow Run, they had it on 360 old school one. I don't know if this may be a continuation or something, but
No,
I
it
played
might
Shadow
be.
Run.
I'm just trying to think. Hang on, I'll bring it up on Steam and have a quick look. But I know that it was very interesting, as in like it was one shot. So if the enemies hit you, you would die instantly and you'd have to restart.
Oh,
Um,
shit.
like it wouldn't be like from the very beginning. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't find it now, but and I literally just deleted it because I finished it and it's only a demo. So, um,
That's all right.
but yeah, overall, like pretty cool game, really straightforward. The one shot kill thing was a bit bothersome at the start when I was trying to get through like the smaller level, but overall, pretty straightforward and simple, but cool, quick action, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when that game comes out because the story is very limited in this part. But you're just trying to save this guy who's a prisoner, and eventually you get to him, and yeah, it's not how it seems to be. But overall, pretty. Both those games are pretty good games.
Yeah, I have not had a good demo sesh in a long time because I don't have a PC like right now, and there's just so much shit demos on Xbox. They're not even worth my time. But I used to love as a kid when I used to get the Xbox magazine. You get like the demo disc,
Yeah, yeah,
and you'd like have
like
like the
K
six
Zone.
demos. K Zone. What was it? Xbox 360 Australia,
Yeah,
Inside Xbox, whatever they were called. Yeah, I used to love those.
I mean, yeah. Overall, the gaming world at the moment is booming, and it's only going to get better and better because technology is getting cheaper and cheaper. People can develop games and have them in high resolution, the graphics be super good, and it can be developed by one person. I believe that Shadow game I was speaking about. Sorry, I literally played it tonight on the same night as the recording, and I forgot its name already, but it did something Shadow Run or something. But yeah, that was developed, I believe, by one guy. But I know that might have been one guy. But then it's very similar to the Xbox 360, Xbox Series X little gameplay they showed that was developed by one person. They said
Yep.
so. It's if you compared those two, they'd be very similar. Obviously, one's on PC and one's for Xbox. But yeah, overall, nice demos. Is there any game that you're looking forward to other than Ghost, like in the next 6 months that you'll be playing?
Well, Cyberpunk ripped my heart out again this week with another delay. So
Oh,
there's
it
that.
has been delayed again.
Yeah, it's November.
Joking.
Let me get the info up for you. Cyberpunk
That's crazy.
new date. Okay, not images. Yeah, delayed till 19th of November now. So it was September 17th to November 19th. Could be getting a couple days wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Hoping that it's just to iron out the kinks because I'm going to be playing on PC. I know you. Are you going to wait for the new gen consoles?
I'm tossing up between Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk. What one I'm going to play on current gen and what one I'm going to play on next gen.
I reckon.
One's going to be on the other.
I reckon you could probably get away playing Valhalla on the old console because I believe that Assassin's Creed games are pretty. They don't change too much from game to game, whereas
Yeah.
Cyberpunk's obviously a super new it's a game that's been on the on the cards now for so long, and that it's been so hyped up. I think you want to play it at its best, which might be on the next consoles. But yeah,
Yeah, you're probably right. And yeah, I don't know. 'Cause I've been watching so much Vikings, I'm just hyped for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so I probably will get that done first. But
Yeah.
saying that, I could be stubborn and play both on next gen. So
Yeah. I mean, it all depends. See how this goes. Xbox have to come out with something soon, like with gameplay, because obviously PlayStation and Sony have just destroyed it with their latest unveiling, which we spoke about in the last podcast. So
yeah, I feel like Xbox is just off my radar right now. It's just fully gone right now. Can't talk about this every day like we have been, but same old, same old.
I think
And I
that wraps
think,
up it today.
yeah, I think that's a good spot to end it. A bit of a freestyle discussion. First time we've ever done anything like this. So, yeah, usually we like to kind of structure 3 topics, but we thought, who cares this week?
We just want to test ourselves a little bit better this week. So I think we did pretty well today. I feel like today's episode was pretty good. So overall, I'm happy. I'm glad we got to talk about the comics again. I think comics are going to be a regular for us these days now because really enjoying. It's something different from playing video games, watching TV shows and movies. It's that reading a comic, they do so much more with so much less, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like I've been reading comics for so long, but now I've actually got a reason to read them. It's just reignited my passion for it, which I'm super hyped for. So yeah, bye, I guess. That wraps up episode 4.
Yeah, take care, guys.